Tampa Bay Bucs Super Bowl 55 champ Shaq Barrett coming at you live for NSPN Next Gen Sports. Go like and follow NSPN for total coverage of all team and combat sports, live shows, plus exclusive player interviews and unprecedented sports content creation.
Aren't you loving life in Tampa Bay? Nothing like being defending Super Bowl champs, Stanley Cup champions, American League champions. This is Al Keck. Join me every Sunday morning at 10. Let's talk our teams in the hottest sports market in the country. Never too early to talk Buccaneers or check in on all the teams in Tampa Bay. It will be your best hour of sports. The Al Keck Show, powered by Guerrilla Marketing. Sunday mornings at 10 on 102.5 The Bone. Sports media has evolved. Introducing NSPN Next Gen Sports, your number one source for all team and combat sports. Live shows, breaking news, esports tournaments, and interactive sports content like never before. Like and follow NSPN on our Facebook page for your chance at this month's fan giveaway contest. And tune in every Sunday at noon for exclusive video access to my Al Keck Show interview. NSPN Next Gen Sports. Al Keck here. I have to tell you about my amazing pampered experience at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. First of all, I love what she did with my hair, but it's the entire experience that truly sets her apart. You walk in and chances are she's playing your favorite music because she has to. She pours you your favorite adult beverage because she has to. It's gone from haircut to a truly relaxing time only at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Haircuts, men and women, full spa treatments, hair color. Get it all with Daniela. Check her out on Instagram at Daniela LaCorey or book her on the Booksy app at ladybarberdaniela.booksy.com. Tell her Al Keck sent you and get $10 off your first service, plus neck and shoulder massage. Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Al Keck here for my friends at Family Lawn, Pest, Handyman, and Housekeeping. I'm all about saving money and saving time, especially when it comes to maintaining my home. These people are 4-in-1. One provider for my lawn, pest, handyman, and housekeeping. I don't have to call 4 different companies, receive 4 different estimates, have 4 different strangers come into my home and write 4 different checks. I simply call Roger and Paula at Family Lawn and Pest. Sign up for a year and leave the honeydews to them. Get a free estimate. Call 813-526-8111. That's 813-526-8111. Tell them Al Keck sent you and get $250 off your first year or 20% off your first month. It's Family Lawn and Pest and so much more. Medical marijuana made easy. See if you pre-qualify for your Florida medical marijuana card free of charge, 100% risk, obligation, and judgment-free with Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. You're talking Tampa Bay's #1 choice for compassionate care with business professionals. Discreetly begin your road to relief by dialing 813-358-CARD or visit www.mycannabiscard.com. That's 813-358-2273. And make sure to tell them that Al Keck sent you for $30 off new patient enrollment. Ask about military and senior discounts. Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. With uncertainty at an all-time high, securing what matters most has never been more important for your home or your office. Prevent disaster and make life easier. Try a security and home automation system from Alarm Engineers, Inc., Tampa's trusted leader for more than 30 years. State-of-the-art security systems, award-winning monitoring, and now full-spectrum smart home solutions. Alarm Engineers, Inc. has everything your home and office could possibly need and will work with any budget. Book a free security or smart home consultation today. Call 813-948-4000. That's 813-948-4000. And get your first month free by telling them Al Keck sent you. Alarm Engineers, Inc.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on a Monday night. It's the Sports Web live on NSPN and of course I Love St. Pete. I'm your host Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And how do we start off this edition, this Monday night edition of the Evolution of Sports Talk Television? Because if sports media is going to evolve, it has to have an evolution. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. And then at 9:30, we will have a new guest here, special guest in Kasey Hudson of the Sports Case Media, has covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 6 seasons, has covered the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then, of course, your phone calls. Let me go ahead and put it up there. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Again, on the Next Gen Media Network, NSPN, and of course, I Love St. Pete. And what do we have to say, Bucs fans? Not necessarily what you were looking for, right? Not necessarily what I was looking for. I thought that there was going to be some points scored in this game besides maybe a field goal. You see, I actually brought my Uncle Dwayne to the game. He's never been to an NFL football game, particularly the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I thought at least we would hear some cannon fire with us sitting in the seats right by the pirate ship, but that didn't happen, did it? Of course, everybody losing their minds right now. Again, as Bucs fans were walking out, I joined them later on because it wasn't pretty. Not one aspect of that game was pretty, but not one starter, I would say, played in that game. Maybe O.J. Howard. Get back to that in a moment if you want to, or we cannot. We'll definitely have Leo Haggerty to talk about it. He had some drops in this game. But overall, not good. Not good in every aspect of the game. But on top of it, no excitement at all. In fact, I really feel bad for Bucs fans because you wanted to see some scoring, even if it is your second and third stringers. I get that. But to top it all off, to have my Uncle D go out there to his first football game and then basically have a field goal, which, Ryan, if you're a Ryan Suckup fan, good. 49-yard field goal. We've heard different things come out that he may be in a position battle at this point. I doubt it. Again, just talk at this point, just preseason. So we're here to calm down everybody tonight. You got one more preseason game to go, and then you open up versus the Dallas Cowboys. That's my guest right there, the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. I start off my monologue by saying, look, I brought my uncle to his first football game, and I thought we'd at least see a touchdown or two, but that was not to be. Welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, Leo.
Another Monday, another night with the hardest working man in the sports talk industry.
I love it. I absolutely love it. But there was nobody on this Bucs team that really was working hard, was there? I mean, where do we start? Let's start with the bad call of the game. I can't understand this. I've watched football for nearly the majority of my life. I would say 35, 38 years, and I've never seen a ref or a refereeing crew get this call wrong. You could clearly see that when Tanner Hudson catches the ball, his elbow is down, and yet I've always learned if your elbow is down, it's like a knee or 2 feet, right? Then on top of it, the ball pops up. I always heard that the ground kick calls a fumble, but I guess we got different rules in the preseason. Make some sense of this to me.
Peter, I can't. I sat upstairs, and some of the Titans guys said that, well, he had control. I said, if he had control, then he's down.
Yeah.
I said, there's only one of two things that could have happened with a correct call. The first one is he catches the football and he's down by contact.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is he never has control because he didn't take a second step and it's an incomplete pass. So I'm just totally baffled by that call, and so was Coach Arians, you could tell.
Mm-hmm.
And he refused to deal with it until he left, and he said, referees need preseason too. And I said, that's pretty much it. So,
yeah.
That's 2 weeks in a row that the Bucs have really got just horrific calls. The one on Joe Tryon was bad, and this one was worse.
Yeah, well, even the refereeing crew admitted that they were wrong on the Tryon call. I wonder if they're going to come out this week and say they were wrong on this, because it's either two things. Like you said, it's either an incomplete pass or it's down by contact. It can't be possibly a fumble. I just can't see it. With that being said, Tanner Hudson did lead in wide receiving for the night, but do you think he's one of those guys that could be on the hot seat because he didn't necessarily have the best game? Not only that play, which was out of his control, but also had a deflection. I mean, do you see them keeping a Tanner Hudson? Is Tanner Hudson, in your opinion, proven enough to make this team?
I think they're going to keep 4 tight ends, Peter. And I think he's one of the 4.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if they'll dress 4 tight ends every game, but I expect them to keep him. And again, you got Gronkowski, you got Cameron Brate. You got to see what he's like because he was on the PUP list for a while. You got O.J. Howard, and you've got Hudson. I think as much as they use 2 and 3 tight end sets, that's something that you want to keep as a 4th tight end.
Offensively, not really able to get into a rhythm, and a lot of Bucs fans were treated to Kyle Trask, and they were really excited. But you look at his numbers: 13 for 26, 131 yards, 2 interceptions. BA said it best in his press conference, and I think we're kind of getting a little bit of feedback on your end there, Leo. I don't know why we're doing that. What's going on there?
Is that any better?
Yeah, that's a lot better. Thank you. Well, then we're still getting that. I don't know what that's from. 13 for 26, 131 yards, 2 interceptions, and BA said it best in the press conference. Basically, it's a kid that's learning. He has a long way to go in order to be a starting quarterback in this league. But what did you see out of him on Saturday night?
Well, you know what, Peter? He came into a really bad situation. They were behind. Everybody in the building knew he had to throw the football. So it was just not a good situation for him.
Right.
There was no running game. And, Peter, there's 3 things that are a friend of a quarterback. Good offensive line, a good running game, and a good tight end.
Right.
That was not the case when Trask came in. So, yeah, he was a victim of a little bit of bad luck. He tried to force a few balls to try and catch up. And, the problem is if they're good, fine. If not, you just fall further behind. And that was the problem.
Now, we're on with Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag here on the Sports Web, live on NSPN. And, of course, I love St. Pete. We came in with O.J. Howard dropping some really easy passes. Any concern there? I mean, we heard that he's trying to get back into shape. He's trying to, have that rust wear off a little bit. Any concern, in your opinion, or from that coaching staff that you heard on Saturday night about Mr. Howard?
No. and BA hit the nail on the head. He goes, got a lot of rust on him, and I think he's more worried about taking a hit on that knee.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's hard to block that out.
Right.
And they did come back to him. He did catch the ball. So I'm more worried about Darvin. I tell you what, he's got to make this team right now as a return guy, because I don't think he's in the mix as one of the wide receivers, and that's a shame because he can fly.
Yeah, he could definitely fly. I can't see him being off this team, honestly. Being a 4th-round pick, they got to make some room for him. I think the odd man out is Jaden Mickens, but of course, you may be right. I mean, Darden and Scotty Miller, both of those guys fast on this team. So do you expect to see – we know that the next preseason game, because you asked the question, our own Leo Haggerty here on NSPN, and of course, I Love St. Pete, and of course, It's Sports Mag, BA, about how much playing time you're going to see against the Texans for the final game, and he basically said, a lot, basically a whole half, right?
Oh yeah. In fact, I asked him that question. I said, it's usually the 3rd preseason game, you play your starters at least a half, and a little bit more, and the 4th preseason game, you either rest them or they get 3 plays. Right now you don't have them, so are you planning on resting them or playing them? He point blank said, they'll play a half.
Right.
Which, again, a lot of people were shocked, but if you look what the NFL did, and boy, this was not the smartest thing in the world. The Bucs luck out. They only have 11 days off before they play the Cowboys on Thursday night. Now, other teams, they're going to have close to 2 weeks without a game, and there'll be a little bit of rust built up. Peter, I expect to see really bad football throughout the league, at least the first 2 and maybe into the first 4 games, just because these guys haven't had a chance. You're coming off that COVID year where they didn't practice. I expect tackling to be just terrible the first couple weeks, maybe even longer. But that's why they're going to play the starters, because and you hope the football gods don't come back and bite them on that when somebody gets hurt. So we're going to wrap up a couple guys in bubble wrap and see what happens.
Yeah, pretty much. But again, you're expecting to see this first team unit. It'll be nice to see him, although it's not going to be at home. It's going to be versus the Houston Texans. Do I smell a blowout? I mean, do you feel like this team puts all their struggles, they use it as motivation, and they could possibly blow this team out? Because the Texans right now, they don't know who their quarterback is. They have a new coaching staff. They've lost J.J. Watt. I mean, this has all the makings, even though it's a preseason game, for a big-time blowout by this Tampa Bay offense.
Well, Peter, I don't know if you're going to see a lot of blowouts right now.
Right.
Just because they got to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
And again, I just want to see some offensive efficiency. Get down and score some points. First 3 possessions and you get 2 scores, a touchdown, a field goal, that's 10 points. I'll tell you, I'll do that every time and twice on Sunday.
Who are some of the other guys that you saw in this game that really stood out that you think we're going to make this team?
Ooh, Peter, that's hard because you don't know what they're looking for.
Right.
And again, that's the linebacker Stewart looked good.
Right.
I think he may have a shot. I don't know about Delaney. He looked good. You can never have enough corners.
Right.
You can never have enough safety. So that's working to his advantage. But it's going to be interesting to see. And again, Peter, that's all going to depend on who comes out of this. If anybody gets hurt, God forbid on Friday night, they're going to be out an extended period of time, because all of a sudden that changes everything real quick.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Pat O'Connor by name. You saw him flash a sack there. You also had Khalil Davis was mentioned by name. I think the guy that stood out the last 2 preseason games has been the rookie in Joe Tryon getting his first sack. I mean, talk about this kid. He is a man among boys right now. And I get it. He's playing not necessarily against starting units, but he's really showing a lot of flashes of brilliance and giving this Buccaneer coaching staff something to definitely think about how to use him during the season, right?
Well, I'll tell you what, Peter, if you sit JPP and you sit Shaq for a series, you're coming in with Nelson and you're coming in with Tryon, 6'5" and 6'6", that are athletic. And the only thing complaint I had about Tryon is he's too aggressive. You know, he gets fooled a little bit on the the bootlegs and that, but
sure,
that happens to young players. So I would rather have to tone a guy down and try to coach him up.
Yeah, we had Desmond Walker on the other night, a pass rushing specialist, and he was talking about this Bucs defensive line, and he was saying, the biggest adjustment for a defensive end or a defensive lineman coming into the NFL is usually the RPO or something along those lines. Do you agree with that it is the RPO, it is the motion and bootleg and stuff like that?
Well, in college, you can go 3 yards down the field as an offensive player.
Mm-hmm.
In the NFL, you can only go 1. So that's a whole new animal right there. So if you look at what's happening, I don't know if the RPO is that much of a thing, but what it does is it gives the people a read. If that offensive lineman gets 2 yards down the line, it's either going to be a pass behind the line or a run.
Yeah.
And it goes back to the old adage, Peter, all the guards take you to the play. So again, I don't know if you heard Stewart's comment, but he said, I asked him, what's the difference playing linebacker? And he said the biggest difference is that now you got to get your hands on somebody.
Right. Because
all the offensive linemen, you try to be an athlete in college and juke them out. He said, that's not happening now. So, it's definitely a learning curve for a lot of these kids.
Yeah. And like I said, I was going to the game. I was telling a lot of fans to just relax. Like you said on the Facebook post, all it showed was that the Titans backups are a lot better than Bucs backups. But then again, you got to feel like BA has to be somewhat disappointed with some of the players, the way they're playing, especially with their jobs out on the line, right?
Well, again, Peter, you got to give credit to that team on the other side.
Sure.
They're getting paid.
Sure.
And I was a little bit disappointed in the fact that the Buccaneers not only didn't score, they didn't get in the red zone. And that's really tough.
Right. Right. And I was talking about that. I brought my uncle to his first NFL football game thinking, we're sitting right behind the pirate ship. And the only time you heard the pirate ship is the 3 ones that they basically let off when they got the field goal. After that, there was nothing more. So he got a chance to see no scoring at all. I feel bad for him. So now I owe him another football game. Speaking of football game, Peter King was talking to Tom Brady today, and this is what Brady had to say to him about his longevity in playing in the National Football League. I know when the time's right, if I'm not a championship level quarterback, then I'm not going to play. If I'm a liability to the team, no way. But if I think I can win a championship, then I'll play. Again, of course, Brady just turned 44 on August 3rd. His original goal was playing until he's 45. This kind of really sums up him. If he starts to take basically that decline like a Peyton Manning where he's not able to throw the ball down the field, you feel like he's going to step away from the game, right?
I would think so.
Okay.
Again, if he that's something you just expect to see, is that he's got Brady, I think, has a self-imposed bar that he has in terms of what he has to do to stay at his level. And to say that bar is precipitous, as A.T. Worth.
Whoa, look at that. Listen to that, man. Precipitous.
Is an understatement.
Okay.
He definitely looks to raise the bar every year and not lower the bar. So when that bar starts to slip, and Peter, it's going to happen. It's just, Father Time's undefeated.
Sure it is.
When it's going to happen. So we're hoping it's not this year, but it could very well be. Name me a 44-year-old quarterback in the NFL. Okay, end of story.
Right. It's only Tom Brady at this point. That's all you got. And of course, the mark would be George Blanda at 48. We were talking about this a couple of weeks ago. Do you think there's a possibility for him to approach that with the TB12 method and all the things he does off the field, eating clean, drinking clean, not really getting drunk unless there's a championship celebration, if you will. I mean, is there an opportunity for Brady to last until he's 48 years old, or you think that's a pipe dream?
I think Giselle may step in on that one.
She may sack him. Okay. She may sack him and basically say, hey, look, it's time for you to be a father and come home. And of course, his son being a ball boy, that was a lot of conversation this weekend, because what we come to find out is Titans coach Mike Vrabel has COVID. How concerned are you about this situation? And it seems like COVID is not going away. In fact, it's very, very prevalent right now.
You know what, Peter? The question is, and I'll throw this out to you. There's only one NFL team that has all its players vaccinated. Did you catch that? Which team it was?
Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah. I mean, that means 31 teams, and I guess that's the Buccaneers. And here's the thing. I talked to Jeff Scott out at USF, and somebody asked him, what happened down at with the Buccaneers and the Titans and Vrabel testing positive. They asked him, are all your players tested positive? He said about 80%. And he said, the people that aren't tested, the parents won't let them. Well, Peter, there's 117 players out at USF. 20% is close to 25, 26 players. That's a lot of folks.
Yes.
So again, if you're looking at an NFL roster, which is going to end up somewhere in the 60s, low 60s, let's say you got 80% of that roster vaccinated, you're still looking at about 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 guys. If it's not 80%, that's susceptible to catching it. Peter, the biggest problem is what they're saying is the people that have been vaccinated are still possible carriers.
Right, which the coach did. He vaccinated and still got it. So, of course, it's going to limit. But, that's where I'm looking with the NFL. The NFL said this about a month ago where, look, if you're unvaccinated, you have an outbreak, there could be penalties and fines. But what if you are vaccinated and there still is an outbreak? Then what does the National Football League do?
Punt.
I mean, do you put off games? I get it. Roger Goodell doesn't want to cancel any games, doesn't want to put off it. But at the end of the day, it's about the health of the players. It's about the health and the well-being of the coaches and also their fans. So why not put it off and make sure everybody's healthy? We're on with a healthy Leo Haggerty here, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. We hear that Dak Prescott, this report coming out, he's not going to be 100%. I mean, do you believe that with this shoulder injury? Is this going to be an ongoing thing? I feel like it is, and I feel like it's an advantage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and once again, an unnecessary distraction for the Dallas Cowboys, because not only is Prescott coming off of an ankle injury, but now he's got a shoulder injury, and consequently, that's one of the most important facets of a quarterback. He has to be able to throw the ball, and if his shoulder is hurting, I wonder what or how effective he's going to be throughout this season.
You know what, Peter? If I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm coming out and saying the guy's got a sore shoulder, he's got a sore back. I am just not giving you a report of what Prescott is. You say he's banged up. He'll probably go out there in a wheelchair. You never want to sit there and go, hey, guess what? He's doing real well. Everything's fine. So that's crazy where it's going.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think it's crazy where it's going with the Cowboys in general. Already 5 players, including a coach in Dan Quinn, who's in COVID protocols. I mean, what's the impact of that? Is it too early now to affect this regular season game?
Peter, probably not, because they can still zoom in and everything.
Sure.
And it also depends on what it is. Is he in a 5-day? Is he in a 10-day? Is he in a 14-day? So that's the toughest thing. You just don't know what it is.
Right.
When you find out, and again, that's I just wonder when we're going to move on from this.
Right. Well, it doesn't seem like anytime soon, especially if guys are not going to get vaccinated on their own teams. And, of course, it goes back to the quarterback position for us when talking about the National Football League. And it struck New England and Cam Newton And now there's reports that, basically he is vaccinated. He's not. He went out of town. He's not supposed to. If he's not unvaccinated, what do you make of that situation? And could that open the door for a rookie like a Mac Jones from Alabama, who to a certain degree has looked impressive and seems like he has a very good grasp of this offense?
Peter, it all depends on is he COVID positive or is he contact tracing?
Okay.
And I don't know if you saw the statement, but the Patriots put out a statement that there was a miscommunication or a misinterpretation of what was going on. So again, that's just something you got to look at and wonder what the heck's going on.
Right.
And Peter, to answer your question earlier, if there's going to be a cancellation, I guarantee you, if the Detroit Lions end up with a COVID problem and they got to put a safety at quarterback, they're playing.
Yeah.
But if it's a team if it's Pittsburgh or it's Baltimore, they're going to move the game. And again, that's the NFL. People have to understand the rules are not the same for everybody. Whether they want to tell you they are or not, it doesn't happen.
It's like the refereeing. Honestly, it's like the officiating in the NFL. It's not consistent. It follows along with Roger Goodell and the NFL, and it's disappointing because you would like them to be more consistent. Speaking of more consistent or being bad as consistent as you can be, Andy Dalton. I don't understand this. I get it. The kid and Justin Fields, really came back down to earth with his statistics and basically getting the stuffing knocked out of him. But Andy Dalton has done absolutely nothing as a starting quarterback in the National Football League the last couple of years. And then 2 games, I get it's preseason. Why does Matt Nagy continue to say Andy Dalton is going to be the starter of the Chicago Bears? Does he want this team to go down like the Titanic?
No, but he doesn't want his quarterback to go down like the Titanic. If you lose Fields and have to go to Dalton, your season's over. But if you go to Dalton and then have to come in with Fields, that'll work.
Right.
Because now you get a little bit of a rush. So again, why is Chicago so bad? That offensive line is just pitiful.
Yeah.
Again, it's if you can look what happened to Carson Wentz last year. Carson Wentz got behind an offensive line where people were introducing themselves in the huddle. Who are you? Oh, I'm the new offensive tackle. Great. Okay. He started looking at the rush. He got gunshot.
Yeah.
Man, he can't afford that to happen in Chicago with Fields. And you could see that when Fields was just getting beat up, that's just sitting in the neck. I'm sitting this kid for a while. He's got to, because I don't want him to get hurt.
Well, and my point is, if that offensive line is that bad, he's able to use his mobility, which he did in last game against Buffalo, which to me, look, they're a Super Bowl contender this year, if not a Super Bowl participant, just saying. But at the end of the day, if you have a bad offensive line, you want a mobile quarterback. You don't want somebody that's going to stay in the pocket and basically, go down with sacks. That's not going to help your team. So that's why I say Fields eventually, if not sooner or later, is going to be the starting quarterback of that team. With that being said, what do you think about this New Orleans Saints situation? It looks like Jameis Winston is kind of laying claim to the starting quarterback position tonight with his 2 touchdowns versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. A deep throw, perfect, and an even better throw to Mickey Callaway with the one-handed catch.
You know what, Peter? It's the same situation, I think. Do you want to start Jameis and come in with Hill as a change-up? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And let's be honest, Jameis pretty much won the job. It's just a situation where you've got to look at what's the best for your team. And again, if you get a package in with Taysom Hill, 3 or 4 packages in there, that forces teams to prepare for it. And that's the biggest thing.
Sure.
Is they have to prepare.
Yeah.
So when you look at that, let's just say that this becomes a better option, starting Winston, seeing what happens and coming in with Taysom Hill. Because if you start Taysom Hill and then come in with Winston, you don't have to prepare, because now you're going to prepare for everything with Hill. And when Winston comes in, it's not going to change. When Hill comes in, it changes. So that's the important thing.
Yeah, and you saw Trevor Lawrence tonight. I don't know what the refs are looking at. I guess they were trying to protect quarterbacks or not, but he's taking headshots from the Saints. I guess he's going to get hurt eventually if the refs don't do something. What do you see from the young kid? What did you see from him, and do you find it encouraging for him to be the starting quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars this year?
Oh, yeah, he's going to be the starter. There's no doubt about it. When you're the number one pick, that's just going to happen.
Right.
Offensive line problems down there as well, and it's just a matter of what they can do to get better.
Right.
Basically going to have a kid that's got to throw it pretty much play action or 1 and 3 step drops just to get rid of the ball. Because he goes to 5 and 7, there's probably going to be a color in his face, and that's not good.
No, that's not good. I tell you what is good. Devin White, though, has joined the NFL's top 100 list now. He's 28th in voting. I mean, is that too low in your opinion, or is that right where he needs to be? Of course, he joins Buccaneers Tristan Wirfs at 89, Shaq Barrett at 88, Chris Godwin 81, Jason Pierre-Paul 59, Mike Evans at 48, Levante David at 43. And then, of course, Tom Brady is coming up there somewhere, most likely in the top 10 or top 5. Devin White, is that too low in your opinion? I mean, the way he played in that postseason, he looked like the best middle linebacker in the league, right?
Peter, he'll probably be the best middle linebacker. He's at 28, correct?
Yeah, 28.
Peter, that means 27 guys ahead of him. That's probably right where he needs to be.
Yeah.
Because a defensive player at that level, that's pretty darn good. Let's be honest.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And look at the level of talent for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now, once again, the NFL rankings respecting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, finally getting their just due. And, of course, we respect this man right here, the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, which, by the way, has been trying to appease sports fans since 1977. Go ahead and promote yourself. We got your friend Kasey Hudson on the line. We're going to get her on the evolution.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, you got a great follow-up to me. You're not going to lose anything there. Go to www.sportsmag.com. We just put up a big article on the last week of training camp, what happened with the Bucs. So go check it out.
All right, there you go, Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. Thanks a lot for your time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television, live on NSPN and I Love St. Pete. All right?
All right, brother. You take care. We'll talk to you next Monday.
All right, there you go, Leo Haggerty. Let me go ahead and read these comments, and then we will get out to our special guest, Miss Kasey Hudson, here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Let's go out to Roger Shue, your tribal troll in the web tonight. I will go ahead and give it to you. You are the tribal troll. That's what trolls get. Bucs 8-9 wins. This is what you get for that.
Shut up!
All right, Roger Shue says your show is better than Monday Night Raw. I'll give you that one. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Christopher Cole says Saints are the dirtiest team in the NFL. Seeing some of the shots tonight, Christopher, just going for the head for Trevor Lawrence. And I don't know what the refs are looking at. I guess they need to go to lens crafters, because I thought the rule was to protect the quarterback. And when you have defensive players going for the head, it doesn't make any sense not calling penalties on them. Roger Shue says the vax. Okay, I'm not going to read that. Part of playing in the National Football League, Darryl Floyd. Mac Jones is a future top 5 quarterback in the NFL. I was high on him when he was coming out of Alabama. Dak is probably favoring his leg to have thrown out his arm. Who knows at this point, but I think it's a foreshadowing of things to come. And I think that's what Bucs fans have to pay attention to. You hear the report about Dak Prescott and him not being 100%. Of course he's not going to be 100%. If he has a shoulder injury, it's going to be an ongoing thing. What's the impact of the Cowboys for the year? What's the impact of him being 100% against the Bucs on September 9th? Not very likely. He's not going to be. He's not going to be 100%. Darryl Floyd, let's see. Adam was great in the NFL in 2005. It's going to be Browns versus Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. Eric White says, smash that like and share button. Definitely share and like NSPN. And, of course, I Love St. Pete, the evolution of sports talk television. Jameis Winston should be fired. He actually may be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. I'm not joking. And it should be Tim Tebow. And for that, you get this.
Shut up!
Because I know that you're trolling me because Tim Tebow is never, ever going to play quarterback in this league. I love Tebow. I love the opportunity that the Jaguars gave him to be a tight end, but it is what it is. The guy's seen his best days. He's 34 years old. All right, let's go out to our special guest here, Miss Kasey Hudson of the Sports Kase, Kase Media. Welcome to the evolution of sports talk television. You covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 6 seasons. You covered the Tampa Bay Lightning for 3 seasons. Tell me, how does it feel to be a part of Tampa Bay? Welcome to the evolution.
I mean, they definitely make it easy to talk about them more and more these days, but you know you're a big fan and that you're passionate about this job when you had to cover the Bucs 6 seasons ago, and they've been on the rebuild, and they've had promising season, flop, promising season, flop, and now we finally have some success going. So it's been an exciting and wild journey for sure from a work standpoint and a fan standpoint.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And covering them for 6 seasons, you've seen the ups and downs. You have felt them with the Jameis Winston stuff, 33 touchdowns, 30 interceptions. Watching the game tonight, the guy looks like a totally different quarterback. Although, Kasey, it is preseason, but the difference is like night and day with the Winston in 2019 to a Tom Brady. Give me that. Give me what you thought of when Tom Brady was signed. Did you believe that Tom Brady was ever going to be a starting quarterback for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
At first, I really thought it was a wild theory just because who honestly saw Tom Brady leaving the quote unquote comfort of the New England Patriots, right? But now that we've seen a whole different Tom Brady, he lets his hair down a little bit more. He gets avocado tequila wasted. You realize that it's one of the best moves ever. But for me, I just needed a quarterback that minimized his turnovers. I had so much faith in our wide receiver core. Our defense was young, but very progressive, and everybody knew that they were only going to get better and better. So I just needed a guy who could handle the pocket way better than Jameis Winston. So I wasn't wanting or needing a Tom Brady, but I mean, I was excited about it when the time came and it became more of a reality. I did not see him leaving the Patriots. That was a tough one for me.
Covering this team and knowing the history about it, Kasey, was there ever a thought process of, Tom Brady may leave us at the altar, much like a Bill Parcells did in the past? I never forget this because, I've grown up being a Bucs fan since I was 8 years old. I don't apologize for it. I've seen the good and the bad and a lot of the ugly. Bill Parcells leaving them at the altar twice, and then having Brett Favre supposedly going to be a starting quarterback, and then at the 12th hour, him getting traded to the Jets. So is there ever a thought process where you feel like Tom Brady may basically say, you know what, I'm going to go back to New England or choose the Chargers instead?
When they first released the initial statement saying that the conversations were taking place, at the same time of Tom Brady 90% chances coming here, when the Gronk thing started coming out around the same time is when I was like, okay, this is really happening, because they wouldn't start involving other names or making this whole hype that everyone's coming out of retirement and then leave us hanging like that. But when it first came out, I was like, this is too good to be true. There's no way we're getting altered for sure. Like, the guy's going to get a better offer. Bill Belichick's going to say how much he loves Tom. Kraft was going to be like, you're our world. And then he was just going to go back to his ex and be okay with everything. So I did think we were going to get hung up for a second. And
that's what I always go back to, Kasey. We're on with Kasey Hudson of the Sports Kase, Kase. That's on YouTube.
Yep, YouTube and all social platforms.
All right, there you go. I always go back to this. Sports to me is like a relationship, right? I mean, they took Tom Brady for granted. He took less money for them to go after weapons and basically do everything he could do for them, and they didn't do that. And that's why he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, because they wined him, they dined him, they got him a Gronkowski, they got him an Antonio Brown. I've been doing some research on you. You interviewed Antonio Brown back in the Pro Bowl a couple years ago. How happy are you to see this guy turn his life around and basically become a main contributor to this Buccaneer offense in 2020?
Extremely happy. And, I'm glad you brought that up because, of course, it was very controversial at first. There was a huge divide on whether or not he was going to be an asset or a distraction coming to the Bucs. But having gotten the opportunity to talk to him a couple years ago at the Pro Bowl and some of the questions that I got to ask him, you can tell that he really he really does want to be a leader on that field. He really does want the best thing possible for those younger guys because he knows what it takes to make it in this league. He knows what it's like to fight for this career. He knows what it's like to have to stay on top of his game consistently. So yes, people have their off-field stuff, but I was really excited to kind of see that refreshed that Antonio Brown that I got to talk to years ago versus, the guy who just went through a lot of off the field antics. And he's really trying. He looks up to Tom Brady a lot. He always speaks on that in interviews now that he's speaking up more and more. And you can just tell from other players that come in on press conferences, they even mentioned that he's such a leader in that room, that he motivates and inspires everyone, whether it's, silently because of his work ethic or the fact that he can coach people on the side through his experience. So I'm happy to see him contributing. I also love the fact that you can tell that he's one of Tom's go-to guys. So you can really see how much of a relationship and chemistry those two actually have off the field because it's translating on the field. He's trusting him with those deep balls. He's trusting them with those last-minute decisions. So I think this is going to be an even bigger season for Brown as well as Brady.
I think Brown could be the X factor of this offense. In fact, I think this offense could actually be better than it was last year. Do you agree with that? And my point of emphasis here, Kasey, is the fact of Brady is confident. They're going off the momentum of last year. He's also comfortable in this offense. You have Rob Gronkowski mentioned this a couple of months ago, how he doesn't have to learn a new system. So in my opinion, the sky's the limit, right?
Exactly. And, when we found out we were getting Antonio Brown to begin with, the biggest comparison and why people were seeing a big connection, a big chemistry growing between Tom and Brown is because we know what Tom Brady did with a Julian Edelman and a Danny Amendola. You have those similarities in an Antonio Brown with a little bit more speed and a little bit more accuracy with staying in the lines. So I definitely see bigger connections between those two. Tom and Gronk, they have their own chemistry. We saw towards the end of last season that we were revisiting those big Patriot moments between Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski. I want to see a lot more between Brady and Mike Evans, and I'm hoping that's going to come about because as long as Evans stays healthy, then that's just another weapon that you have down the stretch there. And then, of course, Chris Godwin, another one. If he stays healthy, then Brady just has so many options. So I see a lot more explosion out of this year's offense. I don't know so much about the tight end group outside of Rob Gronkowski. I want to see a lot more action out of our wide receivers just because he has the options there. But I definitely see a bigger explosion in our offense.
Well, in case it comes down to Cameron Brate, I mean, he's was able to somewhat stay healthy, but he's had his injury problems. You have an O.J. Howard, who was a number one pick in 2017, shows flashes of brilliance, but you watched the preseason game the other night, guys dropping passes. I get it's a preseason game, but it's a little bit disappointing for a fifth-year tight end who can't stay on the field to drop easy passes. So I think that's a big key to their tight end position. With Rob Gronkowski, of course, you've got O.J., you've got Cameron. So you'll give me your thoughts. Do you feel like O.J. Howard, this is a big year for him at this juncture, for him to basically show up this year? Because if not, then you start to hear that bus thing come into play. And, of course, every Bucs fan doesn't want to hear that.
I know, and I hate to disappoint any Bucs fans, but I think it's going to be the Gronk show in the tight end group. I know we've tried to give Tanner Hudson a couple looks. I know Cameron Brate has his flashing moments, but as you mentioned, when it comes to health, if Cameron Brate's not at the top of his health, I'm not seeing it for him. And when it comes to O.J. Howard, I really wanted to see bigger things out of him. You know, after Jameis Winston left, it was like, okay, this is O.J.'s year because he's going to have a reliable quarterback, and he had the unfortunate injury. But what I've noticed in training camp as well as the preseason games is he still looks very scared out there. I don't think he's gotten past that injury. He's playing very timid. He's not, making those dives for those balls. He's not committing. He's not very explosive coming off the line. So it seems like he's still very hesitant. And an Achilles injury is a big injury to have. I get that. But if he doesn't shake that off and become the tight end that we were all expecting him to be last year, I think he's shortly on his way out.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's a big year on with Kasey Hudson of the Sports Case, Kase, on all the major platforms. Has covered the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 6 seasons, has covered the Tampa Bay Lightning for 3. We'll get back to that in a moment. You do some other things. Rolling Stone, is that right? Music? I mean, tell us about yourself.
I do.
Yeah.
So, military brat. Both of my parents were in the Air Force. My dad did 28 years. My mom did 5. And when you're on base, you just listen to a lot of old school rock. That's kind of the thing. And then whenever my dad would travel and stuff, Wild Horses by the Rolling Stones would kind of be that We Miss You Dad song. So I grew up big on the Stones, and then my nickname from my dad is Rolling Stone because he says my feet never hit the ground, where, you know, anyone that knows anything about this career choice, you're just constantly on the go. Every day is different and at full speed. So yeah, my parents call me Rolling Stone, and I grew up listening to them a lot. So I'm a big fan. I even have a groupie tattoo of them.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. Greatest memory working for a Rolling Stone. Who did you get a chance to interview or meet? Somebody that you came across in your tender there?
You know, I got to do the Rolling Stone Super Bowl party, and there were so many fantastic heavy hitters. Funny enough, because you were talking about Tim Tebow right before we got on there. He was a solid interview. He's a great talker. I think everybody knows that. So that was actually pretty interesting. But I would have to say, in terms of like rock star who I've got to chat with, would be Journey's keyboardist Jonathan Cain.
Okay. All right. There you go. Old school, little old school here on the sports.
Everybody's a Journey fan. Huh?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Who doesn't love Journey? You know, I mean, seriously, it's old school. You talk about Rolling Stones. Are you into the Beatles? Are you feeling Led Zeppelin?
Helter Skelter.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
Beatles.
we know what that song supposedly was associated with in the history of it, but you're exactly right. My dad, big time Beatles fan, and then of course, you know, liking modern rock, if you will, Metallica, stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Nothing Else Matters by Metallica. See, I geek out on rock music too, though, because I'm a big fan of the guitar. I can like mediocrely play acoustic guitar, but I'm that person who I listen to a song and I'm listening for when that absolute like beautiful guitar solo just comes in and shreds. So like I could tell you the exact minute that solo is about to key in. So for instance, Nothing Else Matters by Metallica, 2 minutes and like 16 seconds and you're about to hear an absolutely like legendary guitar solo. And it's so many others. Me personally, outside of Rolling Stones and the Beatles and stuff, like I loved Nirvana, like I love Kurt Cobain, love Chris Cornell. I was a big Audio Slave girl. That was probably one of the first bands that really got me into listening to the guitar so keenly was Chris Cornell. So yeah.
Yeah, you got good taste in music. I like it. I'm going to give her an oh yeah, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Right there. I'm going to give her that. And we're on the sports web here live on NSPN, of course. I love St. Pete. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with the great. I'm going to say great because she has more than that, guys, but I'm going to let her tell you about it. You did some other magazine stuff here. What's that all about? You go ahead and introduce us to that. Maxim, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have run and been a part of the top rounds for Maxim Cover Girl. And I also worked with Maxim as a content creator. So, I mean, we know what Maxim magazine is. It's not all about the fun, exciting pictures, but they're also super involved in people individualizing and being creative and artistic. So I got an opportunity to really learn digital media with them. It helped stretch my brand. So if you guys ever see like the sports case on social media, primarily Instagram, you'll see a lot of fun graphics that just hype up pregame and postgame. But any events that we've had with Maxim as well would be, you know, traveling, getting content for any kind of fun, exciting hotels that we go and visit or cities, countries. I've been to Bermuda and the Bahamas. So it was a really cool experience. Unfortunately, Maxim hasn't continued their content creator network. They're going to reestablish it in another year or two, but at least I got to be a part of it for the first 2 years.
See, it's awesome. I mean, multifaceted. That's what we like here on the Sports Web. It's kind of like a Bucs offensive line. You know, very versatile, not only in music, not only in beauty, but also she knows her sports. Let's get back to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. When did you think that season last year was going to be special? What was the one moment? And then give me a moment for covering this team that you'll never forget that was one of their worst moments, in your opinion.
Ooh, that's a great question. So this one might sound weird. I know we all have to remember that Bears game last year. And even though that was a horrible game to watch and we just completely gave full control and possession over to the Bears, it was one of those turning points where it's like, okay, we're either going to really kick it into gear here this season and take off, or we're just going to finish off very mediocre, barely strong, and revamp up for next year. And after the Bears game, they came back hard, and that's where they really started to build out their season and be more consistent, not heavily rely on the defense only, even though they were still the guys to pull off those major games for us. But we started to see a lot more connection with the offense and a lot more chemistry. So the turning point for me when I really felt like this team was going to get it together was after the Bears game.
Yeah, I mean, Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say a terrible game to watch.
Well, terrible memory that you've covered this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team, because I know that this team hasn't won. And so it was nice for Buccaneer fans to actually win last year. We talked about Jameis Winston. The last game of the year in 2019, is that one of the worst that you had to cover?
Yeah, Atlanta Falcons, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one was hard. Even staying after the game and having to do that post-game wrap, I just still couldn't wrap my brain around the fact of, like, we handed that game over. We had it for a minute, and then it was just like we basically gave them the game with the interceptions, obviously, and just completely losing motivation. It became a very one-sided situation. It was the defense really fighting it out for us, but we couldn't put it all on them. I mean, we still have a very young defense, but imagine 2019. These guys were still really kind of locking in on the system and finding themselves in the game, and we just kind of dumped it off on their shoulders and gave up. So that was one of the hardest games to watch because we were so close. And how do you break so many records leading up to that and have so many turning points, like a big win versus the Saints? I think it was like 2 weeks prior to that, and then just completely, excuse my French, shit the bed at home finally of the season. Like that was hard. I had no words.
There was no words because I was covering it for another platform, and I'm out at a bar, and before you can, look at the TV, it's over with. Deion Jones is in the end zone, and you have to go on this broadcast and you have to calm these people down because Bucs fans are very emotional, Kasey. You know this all too well.
Yeah.
And you have to sit there for 3 hours and try to convince these people, look, everything is going to be all right. If he comes back next year, he won't do it again. And of course, it basically signaled his way out. And you're feeling, do you feel like he's going to be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints this year?
I feel like they don't have much of a choice. I mean, okay, they actually do, because Taysom Hill has been that guy that they've thrown in the third and fourth quarter who's just completely extended their lead ridiculously. I'm a big fan of a quarterback that doesn't just have a decent arm but can use his legs, especially when the pocket starts folding on them. So I think Taysom Hill is going to end up being their most reliable quarterback. But everybody says that Jameis Winston got his eyes fixed and got LASIK surgery, and apparently he was blind when he was playing for us. So now he's supposed to be magically, that much better because he can see. So hopefully his vision is good enough to minimize turnovers. If that's the case, he's not a bad quarterback. I mean, not all quarterbacks that are great in college translate into the NFL. We know that, but he has a lot of potential. It's just we put all of our eggs in his basket before and he disappointed us. So I think he'll get that starting job just because over at the Saints, but I think Taysom Hill will come in and end up being a more consistent QB.
Yeah, I think, the best chance is with Jameis Winston, of course, if he can cut down on those turnovers. And the reason why we're talking about this is because it's in the division. They don't play the Saints until Halloween. How do you view this NFC South? You have the Carolina Panthers with a new quarterback and a Sam Darnold. You also have the Atlanta Falcons with, in my opinion, a declining Matt Ryan. He showed that last year. So in your opinion, do you feel like this could be kind of a cakewalk for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021?
I don't want to say cakewalk because the Panthers are always like sneaky good on us. I mean, unfortunately, they really can rest on the shoulders of Christian McCaffrey and he pull off games for them. So having that strong, dominant run game, we struggled, in my personal opinion, last year. Whenever somebody was running the ball down our throat is where we were kind of like scattered. And it was like, it took us almost to the third, fourth quarter to get our lives together and we'd pull it off last minute. So I feel like the Panthers will probably be almost our stiffest competition. Sam Darnold, he showed glimmers of capability and potential. I don't know if maybe that'll get that much better in the Panthers system. So I don't want to completely knock down the Panthers. I think you're right about Matt Ryan. He's definitely declining, getting to the last leg of his career. And now that they have a new coaching staff and a new system that they're trying to implement, they're kind of in that rebuild phase. So I don't see much coming out of them or them really kind of squeezing us in too many games, especially what we did to them last year when they had more consistency amongst their players, the returners, and their rookies. The Saints, Michael Thomas being out for a chunk of the season, like he's somebody who carries a lot of the weight of his team on his shoulders. They do have a great defense, but if our offense can build off the chemistry that they started to collect on the end of the season and really show up this year and be explosive, then I don't see the Saints being a problem. So maybe not a cakewalk, but I see us being the best in the NFC South once again.
Do you feel like with them disposing of Drew Brees, of course, retiring him, Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, that this Super Bowl means that much more than the first one? I've kind of talked to Bucs fans about it. And maybe we're all living in the moment at this point, but you look at it, no preseason, a pandemic, and then you go through all those quarterbacks in the postseason. It's pretty special.
Oh, yeah. I think it means more. I know people tried to say in the beginning of the year, like, this is a asterisk season and it's just going to be handed over. But to have to not know what you're dealing with until the final minute almost every week, you know, you could have star players out at the last minute due to COVID. We had a lot of people coming in and out for injury. I mean, to lose OJ Howard, like I mentioned, who was supposed to have a big year last year, to lose Vita V, to lose, you know, a lot of the top guys that we lost, Kappa. We had to keep going to that next man up mentality, which makes it that much harder, which means that your mental and physical readiness has to be sharp. So to have no preseason, to have a new quarterback, to have guys who are just now learning the system, to be building chemistry together for the first time, and to be going through like COVID issues, I think this means so much more.
Yeah, I do too. And I just wonder how it's going to transcend or translate, if you will, this year for this team. Of course, they re-signed all their players. First time this has happened since 1979. The Pittsburgh Steelers Week 1 starters, Week Super Bowl starters, 1977 Oakland Raiders. So pretty amazing feat by Jason Light in this organization. Much has been, yeah. I mean, you've covered this Tampa Bay Buccaneer team. What do you get out of Jason Light and a BA?
Wow. Okay, so Jason Light obviously I think is absolutely brilliant. The way that he's just able to. People want to play for him and they want to play for BA because a lot of guys even stepped up and took pay cuts because they know what this team can produce as long as everybody can stay together. So I think that obviously starts from the head, and having a GM like Jason Light, who is a player's guy. He's very grounded. He's very intelligent. And you can see how much respect just goes through that organization and attuned to him. As for BA, I mean, he's old school, but he is a player's guy. A perfect example is this past week. There was scrapping between Bucs players and Titans players. And rather than kind of losing his shit, Bruce just kind of said, I saw flies being swatted at, and moved on. Like, he wasn't going to throw his guy under the bus. And he does that a lot with his players. Like, you know, even when it comes to roster cuts, he is very good at, you know, protecting his guys, but also saying his piece and encouraging them to, you know, grow up or be men or take responsibility and accountability. We saw him hold Tom accountable last year when it came to the fourth quarter or the fourth down situation and a few other things, when they thought that Bruce was going to come in and just kind of like, you know, play to Tom's feelings. No, he said what he had to say. And as an old school players coach guy, but then he also protects his players. So I'm a big BA fan. I loved him over at the Cardinals, and I was extremely excited when we got him here. I knew he was going to do great things with this team.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You're talking about a 2-time Coach of the Year, Kasey. Of course, he's worked with great quarterbacks in the past, like a Peyton Manning, a Ben Roethlisberger, and now Tom Brady. We're on with the great Kasey Hudson here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Once again, go ahead and promote what you do, the Sports Case on all the major platforms. Tell us about that show real quick.
Yes. So I'm the Sports Case media relations company. I do pre and post game as well as full game coverage for the Tampa Bay Bucs, as well as the Tampa Bay Lightning on all social platforms. So primarily packaging videos on Instagram and YouTube, full game coverage on Twitter, play-by-plays and breakdowns. And then you got to get with the times. I'm on TikTok as well. So any kind of exciting or fun memes that we can get up there about any coverage that we have going on is on TikTok. So on all social platforms, it's at the Sports Case with a K, Kase.
Nice. Good stuff. All right. You talked about the Tampa Bay Lightning. You've been covering them for 3 seasons. Give me your thoughts. Pretty amazing. Back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. I guess my question is, can they do it again? They sustained some losses, but they had some pickups. What do you say, Kasey?
This one breaks my heart the most. So yeah, it's been a great 3 years, obviously, to start covering them when they had that sweep issue with the Columbus Blue Jackets. That was upsetting. And then we go into the bubble and, you know, you're just kind of sitting back on your heels wondering what they're going to do and how they're going to kind of make up or redeem themselves from that sweep the previous year before. And then they go to win a Stanley Cup, and then they go into this crazy 56 game structure season and pull it off again. As for if they're going to make it, they're favored to do so. That third line that they had was such a key and magical piece to getting them through a lot of those hard games that, they needed to win or they needed to pull off. And for us to completely, lose that third line, I'm very concerned about that. I know at some point, and Julian Brisk is a great GM as well. He's brilliant. But I think that they're thinking, okay, we have to start considering that rebuild phase. This is now probably the time to do so because we've signed a lot of young guys. I know that, Ross Colton is about to get that much more responsibility in this upcoming season. In my book, he's not particularly a two-way player. He does need to get better at playing 200 feet. But if he can do that, then he can help rebuild that third line. I just have to see where we go, losing those guys that are extremely strong two-way players. So I say we make it far in playoffs, maybe even to the finals, depending on what these final signings look like. But I don't know if we'll win another cup.
Yeah, it's tough, but you got the best goalie in the world, you would agree. And I cannot understand and fathom how Andrei Vasilevsky doesn't win the Vezina. Make some sense of this, Kasey.
I don't get it either. Of course, we all heard how Kucherov reacted to it. How do you win 2 Stanley Cups and not win one of the greatest trophy honors as a goalie? I think they really got caught up in a lot of the big opportunities, big saves that Fleury had out over with VGK. But VGK was a promising looking team. I thought for a second that we were going to end up playing the Vegas Golden Knights in the Stanley Cup final, but they just choke that final round last year and as well as this year. So I think the way that things were looking, and there's been this whole conversation, I don't know if you've heard this before, and I'd love your input, but they say that, out West is a stronger division than playing East in hockey. They say that they have size and speed where the East Coast is more just speed or speed and skill. So I think they're looking at the schedule and looking at who they play. I think they just assumed that Fleury was probably doing more than Vasi was, which I don't agree with, but that's just what I was hearing and why I'm guessing that it leaned the way that it did.
Yeah, Kasey, I think that's a fair assessment. I think also it's the Tampa Bay sports fan disrespect. It's a Tampa Bay sports team. You're not supposed to be there. Hockey in Florida, it's never going to work, and it has worked with 3 Stanley Cups. So a lot of people just don't like that. They don't like the fact of Tampa Bay sports. I always tell fans here on this show, don't worry about it. Use it as motivation because that team is using it as motivation. Is that the greatest postseason interview of all time by Nikita Kucherov? Number one. And you know what? Because you say it, I'm going to say it. Number one, bullshit. I mean, is that not the great?
Number one bullshit.
Right. Number one bullshit. I said it.
I loved it especially because he had to pause his interview to ask them to bring him more champagne. And then when they brought him the Bud Light in the champagne bottle, he was pissed. So he's like, no, that's bullshit. I need the champagne. That's Bud Light. So that was the most personality I've seen out of Nikita Kucherov. And then I don't know if anyone else caught this, but a couple of us were talking about it beforehand. Last year, after the guys won the cup, came back home, there was a Bucs game that Sunday after they celebrated. And a couple of the Lightning players went to obviously, revel in their honor and whatnot. And the only picture Nikita Kucherov posted on his social media was of him, Killorn, and I think it was Stammer with Tom Brady's wife, Giselle. Mm-hmm. So that was hysterical to all of us because that's where we really first saw his personality. Like, he didn't post his own individual picture. He didn't post anything else. The first Stanley Cup anything was with Tom's wife. And that's when you knew that Kucherov just had so much more personality to give us as media members. But best interview. That, and I think it was Stamkos pouring a beer on somebody's head during an interview.
And I tell you right now, Stamkos, look, he's the captain of this team, but there's a lot of fans that don't necessarily like him because he's been off injured. Mm-hmm. I mean, talk about how important a Kucherov, a Stamkos, and of course a Braden Point is to this Tampa Bay Lightning core team.
Yeah, absolutely. Massively important. Like, I know fans tend to get in their feelings because obviously you want to see your key players healthy and on the ice 24/7. But if people actually pay attention to what Stammer puts his body through and how meticulous he is on that ice, I mean, we don't realize how many injuries these guys are playing through. So, like, I think everybody needs to give him a break. I think he definitely has more years and more tread on those tires, so we don't have to throw him out the gate. But if you're working through a hip injury or fractures or labrum tears for so long, like, you're going to have to get multiple surgeries because of how long you stand out on that. I know people get frustrated because our power play gets very predictable. It's the Stammer show, and he rips the same shot from the same spot 90% of the time. But I think that speaks more to how great of a player he is versus like we could do without him.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. I mean, to me, he's a lot more than just a power play. He can still score. Can he score like he used to? No. Of course, Father Time is undefeated, as our colleague Leo Haggerty would say of Night Sports Productions. It's Sports Mag. He's always talking about age, and the losses of a Yanni Gord is tough. Of course, you talk about that third line, but keeping that core intact. A Braden Point, what do you have to say about him? Just simply amazing, some of the things he does. A top 4 player, definitely, right?
Absolutely, because he knows how to turn it on and turn it off so quickly, and he makes such brilliant decisions in a matter of no time. He skates in such tight circles. He is really, really quick, and his puck handling skills are just ridiculous. Like when you see him get breakaway opportunities and he gets up that ice, like it's almost who is he not going to embarrass when he starts getting up there? Even if he doesn't finish and obviously get the puck in the back of the net, like he still just broke 7 ankles, got 3 guys dizzy and nauseous on the ice, all just, in a matter of 5 seconds. So there's no other Braden Point.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. I want to read this comment here. Let me go out to Daryl Floyd. Spider, didn't you tell me that the Buccaneers should draft Marcus Mariota? No, I didn't.
Shut up!
Because none of those quarterbacks, let's go back to that. I know it's far back there in 2015. That was the debate at the time. Mariota or Winston, both quarterbacks, look, they've had their fair share of success, but not necessarily the typical franchise quarterback that you want to build a team around, right?
No, absolutely not. And I don't think Mariota would have fit into our system. He did good things for college, but as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of guys that they don't translate from college to the NFL, and the system that they were running in Tennessee, that kind of worked for him, but he had most of his success when he was mobile, i.e. running the ball himself, but he wasn't very consistent when he actually had to stand in that pocket and make those accurate throws and passes. I think the pace of the NFL just really got to him.
I think you're right. Let me go out to this comment. My future agent, and of course, my beautiful mom tuning in as always, watching the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web with NSPN, and I love St. Pete. Love you, Mom. Appreciate you as always. You talked about Tim Tebow. How disappointed were you that Tebow is not in Jacksonville? I mean, look, he moves the needle. People still talk about him. Maybe he wasn't going to make it as a tight end, but still, it's something to talk about. Local guy comes back to Jacksonville, makes good. How disappointed were you to see him cut by the Jaguars?
Unfortunately, I don't think I was that disappointed because I felt like they were just trying to make headlines. They were just trying to pull him in because why would his quote unquote specialty be quarterback? And then all of a sudden they bring him in as a tight end and think that they're going to use him as these hybrid tight ends that are now coming up in the league. They're a little shorter. They weigh a little less. They're not so hyper focused on having strong blocking skills. They're kind of going out for route passes and slots. So I think that he was almost kind of set up to fail, and I think it was more of a headline. So I'm a big fan. I admire Tim Tebow. He's got great leadership skills, and I think he's an asset to any team because he's a leader, but I didn't care for that whole situation.
Yeah, the whole situation was weird in itself. I think they were trying to sell jerseys. I think it was 10 to 15 years, a little bit too late, in my opinion. I think they did it a long time ago. Look, he may not be able to play quarterback for Jacksonville maybe 10 or 13 years back, but he's going to sell some tickets, and maybe he gives you some excitement, which that fan base absolutely needs. This fan base here, looking at the schedule right now, how many wins do you see? I'm not going to give away my prediction, but I've said somewhere with 13 to 15. Is that where you see this team this year in 2021, the Bucs?
As for the Bucs, I'm seeing about 12 wins.
Okay.
I think we have some teams that we can't really sleep on. Definitely playing the Rams is going to be interesting. I think that what Sean is starting to set up with his players out there, they're going to be a force to be reckoned with, if not already. We can't underestimate, like I said, like the Panthers. They can be sneakers if our defense isn't ready for that run game, and Christian McCaffrey is going to be ready to run all over the place, being out with injury last year and us being the team that put him out. So I see about 12 wins.
I like it. I like 12-5. It's kind of weird because you want to say 12-4, but now the 17-game season. What do you think about 17? More football, I get it, but it's just kind of weird. I'm not a math guy. I wasn't a math guy in college. That's why I'm a sports broadcaster, but 12-5 seems weird. You like the 17 games?
No. If you like, what was the point of the extra? Like, are we making up for lost time? I don't really understand the why behind it. I guess it's just more football, and now it's becoming more normal to play further into January and stuff. But I mean, I loved, maybe because I was just so accustomed to it, but I loved that 16-game season, and that's what we were doing. 16 weeks.
It's more money for owners. I mean, that's what it comes down to. More money for owners and possibly players, but there's also an opportunity there to where you could have some injuries. How do you see this matchup setting up for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Dallas Cowboys on September 9th? To me, they've already got an advantage here, Kasey. Not only is Dak coming off an injury, but has an ongoing injury right now with his shoulder. And recent reports suggest that he's not going to be 100%. Of course, he's not going to be 100%. So this would favor the Bucs. And look, to me, you can have all the offensive weapons you want to with the Cowboys, but if you can't stop anybody, which they weren't able to do last year, I don't know how you stop this Bucs offense. How do you see it?
Oh, absolutely. I agree on that. That's a solid point to the fact that they weren't able to stop anybody last year. And of all offenses, I don't know how they're going to stop ours. I haven't seen much consistency in their defense in a couple of years for sure. And then we do have that advantage with Dak. If you've seen his press conferences, he barely wanted to show up and speak on the injury to begin with. And now that he's speaking on it, he's kind of trying to give a little bit of false hope, but it looks like he's really working through a lot of pain. And I don't see that being in his favor. He's not going to be able to break out of the pocket as easily without having a full stride and using his arms to get down the field. And I think that he has to, his O-line and him, they need to find a new balance. They need to re-spark some chemistry there as well, because what that O-line's gone through from being the top, protective O-line in the league to kind of dwindling down a little bit after everybody got a payday. I think that kind of stirred up some issues there. And I see our defense just taking complete advantage of that. It might be a Sac City game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it may be with Shaq Barrett, and of course, having a JPP 100% instead of 60 or 70. And you got the big hoss, as my uncle would say, those two big hosses in the middle with the Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea. What are your thoughts on that defensive line? Do you feel like that defense from last year gets enough credit?
Oh, no, I think that they deserve way more credit than they get, because kind of going back to that next man up mentality that I mentioned before is to lose a guy like Vita Vea. If you look at any still shots or slow down tape for a second and you look at the double teams that Vita Vea and Suh are taking every single snap, it is it's insane. They deserve way more credit for how much they're muscling it down there. But they're also very athletic. They can also play on the end very well and kind of get off the ball very super fast. So I think we have a very athletic as well as strong defensive line that doesn't get enough acknowledgement if you just really pay attention to what they're going through every snap. And to have Vita Vea back this year, hopefully staying healthy all year, that's going to be significant for us. I appreciate how much Nacho and a few of the other guys stepped up, but to have that guy that knows the system, that's as strong as he is, that's as athletic as he is, that's going to help the rest of the defense just kind of fire on all cylinders and kind of focus individually on their game.
Yeah, I'm kind of becoming a Nacho fan because I talked to a pass rushing specialist and a guy by the name of Des Walker, and he raves about Nacho. BA's raved about Nacho, how he's put on weight. And, of course, that's what it comes down to with that defensive line. When you have those two big guys in the middle, and a Vita Vea and, of course, an Ndamukong Suh, then basically it opens up those guys on the outside. Speaking of the outside, of Joe Tryon, how impressed have you been with him, watching him in training camp and, of course, in game situations during the preseason?
Super impressed. I mean, the good thing about that linebacker position is that I feel like you have a lot of, I don't know if saying creative control is the right thing, but you can get very creative and kind of hone your craft at that position. And between his build and his size and the speed that he carries and the force that he hits with, I think that he's just getting started on a pretty solid career. I know that, we started to see some good things out of him in the preseason game. Unfortunately, it's been the refs have just been on this whole kick of penalties for letting the guys play. But I think in a real game, letting Joe really kind of let off the gas, we're going to see an athlete that's just kind of getting started.
I tell you right now, I think this guy is also getting started. That would be a Devin White. We talked about the rankings with our friend Leo Haggerty, 28. Do you feel like that's a little bit too low? It should be better than that. And then do you think he is the star player on this defense? It's not necessarily Levante David, which it has been in the past, that it is a Devin White, and he takes that next step of being the best middle linebacker in the National Football League.
Yeah, I would have bumped him up a notch higher because even though we've kind of given everybody these tag team titles and names and stuff, I think that between him and Levante David, they have such a great thing going out there because Levante has that leadership, that the smarts back there, but Devin White has the motor. Like he can go hard every single play. Not saying that Levante can't. It's just that, you constantly see White with the same aggression, that same press every single play from the first whistle to the last whistle. So I think that he deserved to be bumped up a bunch of notches because I'm trying to think of the game specifically. I want to say it was probably the last game with the Saints. One of his, they fumbled the ball, it bounced off the ground, he grabbed it and returned it and stuff. It's just like the guy is never not going full speed.
Well,
and
yeah,
he packs a punch too when he hits.
Absolutely. And I tell you right now, Devin White was the man on the spot versus the Saints with that big time interception. And I felt like that was the very moment when the Bucs were able to defeat the Saints. It almost reminded me of the 2002 Buccaneer team where they weren't able to get over the hump with the Philadelphia Eagles. They weren't able to do that with the Saints. And finally, when they were able to do that, then basically it was done for me. They were going to win the Super Bowl. But Devin White, that play in the game, that interception, you're exactly right. Unbelievable play. So with all that being said, we talked about the wins and we talked about it. Tom Brady this year, I think that the only thing he really has to prove is not only to win a back-to-back Super Bowl, but do you feel like somebody said this in the comments, 20-0? You talked about this schedule. What teams are the most concerning, and do you feel like the Bucs have a legitimate shot to go 20-0 with the offensive weapons and, of course, the defense being back in place?
I wouldn't say 20-0. I will say that I think they are still working on that chemistry with one another. I think some of the guys, or at least some of what I've been seeing at training camp, is that, in those last minute decisions, Tom is known to go to who he feels more confident in, being an AB or Gronk, which kind of, I feel like I'm seeing a ripple of frustration between Godwin and Mike Evans. So depending on how long it takes for them to get that under control and kind of have an equal distribute of confidence amongst his weapons, then I wouldn't say 20-0. Again, having that game versus the Rams at LA, I'm definitely seeing a bit of a challenge there. They're a really strong team on both sides of the ball. So if we go in there thinking that our offense is just going to run the day and that our defense is going to be able to slow them down, then I think we would kind of underestimate them and give them an advantage to take that one away from us. But for the most part, I think we'll have a solid season. Yeah,
I mean, you got to go to that new stadium. You have to play a Matt Stafford, who to me is a major upgrade over Jared Goff. And then you have the next game the next week. I mentioned it. It's my birthday. That October 3rd Sunday night affair versus the New England Patriots. Do you feel like that's going to live up to the hype? Tom Brady going back to Foxborough. You can't ask for a better situation, right?
I know. I think that there's still a hot mess over there when it comes to, how they drafted, who they picked, and what their system is supposed to look like. So I think it's going to be a heyday for Tom going back to Patriots for sure. At that point, well into this season, we just saw how they got better and better game by game. So I can only imagine between the pressure of, again, showing off for your ex, you want to look better, you want to be in the best shape of your life. He's not going to go there and not put that game on his shoulders. And I think the team is going to follow in and support the fact that, this is a big game for him. Kind of how they did when we played the Broncos last year. That was a huge deal for Shaq Barrett. And the team really did show up, not only for Shaq, but Shaq for the team. I think he had 2 or 3 sacks that game.
Yeah, you're exactly right. He played at a high level. And of course, like you said, he also had something to prove because it was his former team. Kasey Hudson, thanks a lot for coming on The Evolution. Once again, go ahead and promote yourself here on NSPN. And of course, I Love St. Pete.
Yes, absolutely. It's Kasey Hudson at The Sports Kase, Kase. So it's TheSportskse on all social platforms, Instagram, Twitter, as well as TikTok. And we do post game coverage, full live coverage at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as well as Tampa Bay Lightning once those boys get started again. And this was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely pleasure for me too. And definitely going to have you back here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Don't be a stranger. Kasey Hudson, Rolling Stone, Maxim Girl, and of course covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Tampa Bay Lightning. I don't know what you want here, webheads, but I got everything you wanted tonight. Kasey Hudson, thanks a lot for your time here on the Sports Web.
Thank you so much, Peter.
All right, appreciate you. There you go. Good stuff there. Miss Kasey Hudson on. Let's go ahead and read some of these comments. Very interesting woman, right? Very versatile. Can talk some music with you. Can talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Can talk about your Tampa Bay Lightning. She's definitely not going to be a stranger here on the Evolution. Guys, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. That's what I hear tonight. I mean, that's what I heard in the Bucs game on Saturday. Of course, that's what you also heard. I'll play this again. The reason why I play that is because I actually went to a Rays game on Friday. Pretty good crowd out there. Didn't hear from any media at all. Well, I tell you what, let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're here on NSPN, and of course, I love St. Pete. What do you have to say?
Hey, Pete, it's me, Gabe. How are you doing today?
What's going on, Gabe?
Oh, nothing much. College is kicking my butt right now, but all's good.
College is kicking your butt right now. What are you taking in college, my friend?
I'm majoring in historical studies right now. I aim to become a teacher.
Historical studies, and you're becoming a teacher. Awesome. Congratulations. Let me go ahead and give you a Ric Flair. Whoa. Very good. What's your favorite historical event, if you will, besides the obvious, the Bucs making history by winning a Super Bowl in their own backyard?
The Bucs making history by winning their first Super Bowl.
Okay. That's your best historical event. Okay. All right. Good stuff, Gabe.
I'll say with that defense they had, of course, it was historical.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Absolutely historical. That defense was historical. So what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, a lot of things are on my mind. First off, OJ's stone hands.
Well, look, it's disappointing to see a guy that's been in the league for 5 years, but I'll take BA at his word. And you heard from Kasey Hudson, who said, he looks like he's a little bit scared out there. He looks like he's a little bit tentative. I wouldn't say scared. I'd say tentative because he's coming off a ruptured Achilles at this point. So, of course, he's trying to work back in. So, look, this is his year, okay? If he doesn't show up this year, then more than likely he's going to be considered a bust and he's going to move on somewhere else. But if he's able to stay healthy and be as productive as I think he can be, because he's shown flashes of brilliance of being a Buccaneer tight end in this league, he makes this offense that much more deadly.
Well, I do agree. I want him to be successful and live up to the hype that we had when we drafted him.
Right.
But he is just so injury prone, and more times than not, he drops the ball on an easy pass. We've seen this for the past 3 to 4 years. He
did that the other night, that's for sure. He's made some amazing catches, though. He's been productive. He's productive in his time with the Bucs. There was a short body of work, if you will, a short sample, but he still showed up. Again, he's got to show up more, and if he can, then that makes, again, that tight end room that much better with, of course, a Cameron Brate and a Tanner Hudson, who knows if he makes this team or not. Leo believes that they're going to carry 4 tight ends. He would, of course, Rob Gronkowski, OJ, Cameron Brate, and a Tanner Hudson. That would work out very well. What else?
I will give credit to credit's due with OJ. His blocking is probably one of the best on the team behind Gronk.
Yes.
We all know Tanner can't block worth a damn.
Right. Well, we heard that. It's actually regressed, according to BA here the last couple of weeks, which is not necessarily a good thing, especially if you want to be a power running team, which I think, look, that Bucs team in the second half of the year on their way to the postseason, they were able to run the ball. They were able to be efficient. And the way you're efficient, you got to block somebody man on man, helmet on helmet. If you're able to do that, you're able to get that penetration over that defensive line and open up some holes. Then your running game is going to be that much better. And when you have that balance to your offense, you take the pressure off of a Tom Brady, and then also the defense has to account for it. So I think it's a win-win situation. I'm all about the balance. And you look at this running back situation, the victim of volume and a Ronald Jones, a Lombardi Lenny, Keyshawn Vaughn, and then adding a Giovanni Bernard. Let me ask you, Giovanni Bernard, does that excite you here? Is him coming in and being that third down running back for this team this year?
Well, we can finally get a running back who can catch the ball for once. So,
Correct.
yes, I am very excited.
Right. Absolutely. Okay.
I mean, Leonard Fournette and Leonard Fournette, he can barely catch. I'm surprised he caught that ball during the Saints game last year.
Well, give him
and
credit.
Ronald Jones,
Yes.
I'm giving them both credit where credit's due, but at the same time, they are not the best pass catchers out there.
Yeah, it's one of the big-time weaknesses on this team. That's why I'm excited about a Giovanni Bernard coming here. What else, bud?
Earlier you were talking about predictions for this year.
Sure. What do you got? How many wins the Bucs have in 2021 in your estimation?
At least a 14-3 record.
Okay.
I have them losing to the Rams.
Okay.
The Saints once, because that's just annual tradition.
Okay.
And Buffalo.
I'm not going to disagree with you. I mean, I certainly think that's a possibility because you look at the division as a whole. You know, the Bucs have their problems, although the Saints have lost a lot offensively and defensively. You still don't know who their quarterback is. You would assume that it's going to be Jameis Winston, but we'll see what Sean Payton says here in the next couple of days. The way Winston played tonight, I think he could be the eventual starter. But offensively, defensively, yeah, if Mickey Callaway's making an Odell Beckham type of catch like that, yes, you can get away with it. Do you think he's going to do that consistently? You don't have a Michael Thomas. You have an Alvin Kamara still. You lost some key reserves on defense. You lost a starter on the other end, on the other cornerback. So I'm not sure. I think the Saints are going to be in the mix still. You may be right about it. The two other losses, everybody assumes they're going to lose to LA because of Matt Stafford. Stafford has to stay healthy. It's the same thing we're talking about OJ Howard. Stafford has to stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, he's an automatic upgrade over Jared Goff. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills, to me, I think that's everybody's team this year. Their popular favorite to pick for the Super Bowl because of Josh Allen and his extension, all the weapons they have, and defensively, they are absolutely sound with Sean McDermott. So I like the prediction. What else?
I mean, you're right. I mean,
well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's why I have a show.
I mean,
you're a smart man. You're a teacher. You're doing historical studies. You're studying for it. The smartest thing you ever said, Gabe. Anything else, buddy?
I mean, going back to the Saints,
yeah.
Assuming that Jameis Winston doesn't say F it, Michael Thomas is down there somewhere. He might have a good season, but again, you said it, consistency. He has got to be consistent.
Well, you got to cut down on the turnovers.
He's had that.
Right.
He's had that problem ever since he got in the league.
Look, Jameis Winston can make all the throws in the National Football League. We know this. We know that also he can put up numbers. What we don't know is if he can cut down on the turnovers. If he can cut down on the turnovers, then it makes the Saints that much dangerous. But again, not having a Michael Thomas doesn't help. I don't know who your number one wide receiver is. Again, Mickey Callaway making catches. Can he do that during the season? Can Alvin Kamara, is he going to be a big part of that offense? You would think here, Gabe, that if you're missing two of your top wide receivers who have problems and injuries and everything like that, that the defenses would be more centered on an Alvin Kamara. But we know that Sean Payton is an offensive guru, and he'll get the most out of the players that he has there. So they can be scary. I think this division can be had by the Bucs. I think it's down. There's a lot of question marks about the Saints. There's a lot of question marks about the Panthers having a new quarterback. Is that an upgrade over Teddy Bridgewater? And then, of course, the Atlanta Falcons, who can't stop a common cold.
Joking.
Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate the call. Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you.
All right, I'll call back soon, man.
Sounds good, man. Use that second call. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web live here on NSPN. And, of course, I love St. Pete. Share, like, and follow, please. Stalk me if you like. I know it's crazy to say that. Follow. I never understood that. Follow, but follow us here because there's a lot of great shows on the Next Gen Sports Media Network. You have the Bossed Up Podcast, which is 5 WWE beautiful ladies talking about their experiences in life. Who doesn't like that at 7:30 on Mondays? You have Sports Talk 49 with my good buddy, Mr. Blake Anthony. You have the 525 plan with Jamal. So many great shows. I don't even know all the shows. You got to definitely tune in. I got to definitely get. And let me tell you something. Tune in Saturday. That's all I have to say. Tune in Saturday because we'll get you ready for Bucs versus the Texans. Of course, the Bucs playing the number one starters. We got some surprise. We got a little surprise for you from the past. Just say that. We'll just leave it at that. All right, let's go out to our web heads here. Tim Tebow is the most underrated quarterback in NFL history.
Shut up!
I love that sound effect, you guys. Daryl Floyd just trolling me, the best college quarterback ever. Okay, I'll buy that. Now, I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'll give you that, Daryl. Worry about the New England Patriots. Why? Who's your quarterback? Cam Newton? You mean that Cam Newton from last year? He's going to turn it around? I get it. Defensive starters are returning from COVID protocols from last year. They all opted out. They're coming back. New England spent in absorbent, Leo word, amount of money and free agency going out to get weapons. We'll see what happens. I'm not scared of New England. Not at all. 20-0, baby, says Fred. I like that. Swayze more. Daryl Floyd again. NFL players need 2 weekends off. Christopher Cole. I missed the first quarter of the game when I started watching in the middle of the second quarter and I saw Lawrence scramble and Saints player tried to take his knee. Yes, he was a runner, but still. Yeah, going for the knees and going for the head is unacceptable. Shame on the NFL refs tonight from what I saw. Just my opinion at this point. Rams don't have a running back, which is a good point, Fred, because it comes down today that Darrell Henderson, who is going to be their eventual starter, of course, starting for a Cam Akers, who got hurt. He's out for the year. Well, Coach Sean McVay announced Henderson hurt his thumb at Monday's practice. He had no additional information. The Rams also have Xavier Jones, Jake Funk. Yeah, baby, Jake Funk. I love that name. Jake Funk. I'm just going to play this. I don't know why, but it just seems funky to me. Jake Funk. Hopefully he works out. If not, then he stinks, right? And then Otis Anderson, not to be confused with the Otis Anderson, the former running back for the New York Giants. They hope it was Otis Anderson. I mean, AP may be getting a call. Le'Veon Bell may be getting a call here pretty soon because if you lose Darrell Henderson, what do you got? Xavier Jones, Jake Funk, and Otis Anderson. Doesn't sound like a big-time great running back room to me. So they're going to definitely have to upgrade that position. Tribal Troll back in the house. Acknowledge me. You are the Tribal Troll. That's for sure.
Shut up!
All right, OJ sucks. This is what you get for that.
Shut up!
You just keep on coming out with it there, Roger. You're full of it tonight. 8 or 9 wins. This is what you get. Eric White, I can't look at Trevor Lawrence without seeing Blaine Gabbert until he cuts that damn hair. Well, totally different skill set there, Eric White, but it is a good point because he is a Jacksonville quarterback. And, of course, there's high hopes for a guy like that. The long hair is throwing off just a little bit. Hopefully he has more success than a Blaine Gabbert had with the Jaguars because he was considered a bust. Let's go out to Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. I've subscribed to you and I didn't get the notification. WTF. I don't know, buddy. But if you're on Facebook, get on NSPN, like and follow ESPN or NSPN. Maybe one of these days, ESPN, but NSPN. We'll stick with that. Okay. It is late and I love St. Pete. Eric White laughing there. Exactly. All right. So the Rams looks like they have an injured running back. So we'll see how that plays out. This from Vic Telfair. And of course, Pro Football Talk, a trade would have triggered a cap charge for the Bears in excess of $20 million. And that would be for Khalil Mack. Yeah, that's right, Raider fans. John Gruden tried to trade back for Khalil Mack. course, the signing bonus 2019 restructuring. The Bears restructured Mac's deal again in 2021, kicking $12 million more into future years. Of course, the Raiders were trying to trade for Mac as they traded him away to the Bears, got the 3 first-round picks that necessarily have not worked out, namely an Amari Cooper, who's now with the Dallas Cowboys. Never liked the trade of trading a pass-rushing specialist like a Mac. Yeah, it's tough to find somebody that can get after the passer, and he can do that. Of course, they get Yannick Ngakoue in free agency, but there was a report there that they may go a trade for a Khalil Mack. So there you go for that. Bucs out in the first round of the playoffs.
Shut up!
Troy Polamalu, King Troy Trojan legend. Our second team should be working at McDonald's. Certainly played like it the other night, right? I was saying it, coming in the monologue. Here I'm taking my poor Uncle Dwayne to his first football game, and he gets to see a grand total of 3 points. Thanks a lot. I feel like a curse, honestly. And then I went to the Rays game the night before, and they lose in extra innings. And I think I was saying, something on the Rays thing. You heard crickets because you heard nobody talk about the attendance for the Tampa Bay Rays. Nobody talk about it. In fact, they drew all kinds of fans this weekend, and this is what you heard from local media and national media alike. Yep, that's what you heard. And don't tell me that there's not Tampa Bay Ray fans. Don't tell me that. Please spare me. I'm sick of hearing it because I saw it for myself on Friday night. Plenty of Rays fans there. Plenty of White Sox fans there. That's okay, though. We'll take their money. Thank you very much, White Sox fans. Appreciate it. Let's see here. God, they suck. Troy Polamalu, keep the show going. I just got here. Richard Soroka, Raiders also signed Gerald McCoy. That they did. Reuniting with John Gruden, I guess. You are a curse. No, you are a curse.
Shut up!
But what can we do without the tribal troll, Mr. Roger Shue from Newport Richie? Devin White, Derek Brooks, who? Easy now. Easy with that. I'm not sure about all that. Now, I want to go out and talk about the Madden predictions. You got to love this, right? Simulation. We talked about the Madden ratings, how we were upset. This is what they say Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady are going to do. Of course, both, if you understand what the Madden curse is all about, when both athletes are on the cover, one of those guys gets injured or both gets injured, knock on wood. Basically what they say for Patrick Mahomes, and this is simulation, Madden 22, they predict that Mahomes will have 5,663 yards, 54 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Oh, really? I don't know about that, Madden. I think that's kind of off. What is Troy Polamalu saying? I never heard of Derek Brooks. Who is she, Peter? For that, this is what you get. Derek Brooks. I never heard of Derek Brooks. He's a Hall of Fame linebacker. Stop playing around. I know you're trolling me. Now, for Mr. Brady, they say 5,548 yards, 43 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. Certainly possible. Brady also completed 70% of his passes and picked up the number 1 seed in the NFC. They say Dak Prescott. They're big fans of Dak Prescott. Again, simulation. This is not my prediction. This is Madden. So take it for what it's worth. Again, a video game that continues to have the same gameplay over and over again. They need to improve it. It's a good game, but they need to improve the gameplay and the ratings. 41 touchdowns. Career high. Ezekiel Elliott returns to form with 14-26. Not sure about that. They say that Colin Kaepernick, yes, you heard me right, a quarterback who hasn't played in about 4.5 years, gets his chance to shine with the Philadelphia Eagles. You got to be kidding me, right, Madden? And that was the big controversy here. This is the problem with Madden. I get it's just a video game, and you can say I don't play video games, but it is football at the end of the day, and if it's in the game, it's in the game. Of course, that's what EA says. Kaepernick is in the game, and he's ranked in an 81. The problem with that is Derek Carr's an 81. Are you freaking serious? Well, what they simulate is that the former 49er star has career high numbers with the Philadelphia Eagles. Are you joking?
Shut up!
Come on, man. Seriously? This simulation is bunk. This is whack. There's no way that Colin Kaepernick is getting a chance with the Philadelphia Eagles and putting up numbers like this. 4,679 yards, 33 touchdowns. And they finished third in the division at 7-10. Yeah, good luck with that. Not only Mahomes and Brady step up, but they say that Trey Lance will be the eventual starter for the San Francisco 49ers. We'll see about that, huh? 2,301 yards, 16 touchdowns in half of a season. Zach Wilson and the Jets are concerned. 19 touchdowns and 11 interceptions. He's looked good in preseason. Again, though, keyword preseason. Let's not lose our friggin' minds here. And, of course, the aforementioned Trevor Lawrence, 4,523 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 14 interceptions. Boy, Jaguar fans would just go crazy, and you know that Urban Meyer wants that type of success from Lawrence. We'll see if he can do it. Fields, 18 yards, 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Sorry, I think they're going to go with Andy Dalton, so you missed that out. Cam holds off Mac Jones. In fact, they have Cam Newton throwing for 37 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. That's bunk. That's not going to happen. Chubb has an all-time season, over 2,000 rushing yards. In fact, he finishes with 1,993 yards on the ground and added 17 touchdowns. The Browns are 13-4. See, now that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not. It's really not out of the realm of possibility for the Cleveland Browns to have the success and carry over that success they had last year. But some of these numbers are just out of whack. I mean, using that word whack. Seriously? 1993, okay. Rebound years for Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey. Problem is, Barkley, can he stay healthy? And who knows when he's going to play for the Giants. But if he does, he's definitely an upgrade. All right. Let me go out to Gabe again. Gabe, welcome to the Evolution. Is this Gabe?
Yes, it is.
All right. What do you have to say about these Madden rankings or simulations, whatever the hell they are?
Jesus Christ has a better chance of walking the earth tomorrow than Colin Kaepernick signing with the Eagles and having a career year.
Yeah, I'm
saying that right now.
Right. And look, it's not like he's not talented, but not being in the league for
he hasn't played in half a decade.
Well, he hasn't played in 4 years.
Giving him an 81?
Yeah, I don't understand it either. I don't get it. I don't get it. So, is that all you have to say? Is that it?
No. I see it as very quiet. You're not getting a lot of phone calls. Hey, everybody who's watching, call him. It's that simple. Pick up a phone, dial the number that's on the bar on the bottom of the screen. Simple.
Gabe, your check is in the mail. Appreciate you, boss. All right?
All right, man. You have a good night.
All right, good stuff there. Let's see here. I'd rather have Kaepernick than Griffin. Well, yeah, probably. Griffin is most likely not going to have a job here pretty soon. Cole says, I love my Tampa Bay sports franchises. I've been a fan forever. However, having said that, the truth is that the majority of the fans in this area are transplants, and as such are bandwagon jumpers, a.k.a. fair weather fans. Sad but true. Exactly. When we talk about the Rays, I always say this. If you're not trying to spend like the Yankees or the Red Sox and make that type of commitment, then how can I expect to turn Yankee and Red Sox fans into Rays fans? My biggest problem with ownership, and that's my major problem when it comes down to talking about the Tampa Bay Rays, is that the owner and Stu Sternberg admits that he is a Mets fan. I hear this from an owner. So if I'm a Yankee or Red Sox fan, why would I convert over to be a Rays fan? It's like selling something and basically saying, you know what? I don't know if you want this. Oh, really? That's how you sell? I don't know if you should take this or not. I don't know if this is a good idea for you. When you go and sell somebody, is that what you say? No, you highlight, you emphasize the strengths of what you're selling, the value. You provide the value, if you will, right? Provide the value, always close. What kind of value are you getting from an owner saying he's a Mets fan? None. I'll leave it at that, because if I go out and we talk about this, Cole, about really what I want to say, we'll be here all night. I'm not even joking about it. I think it's disappointing because nobody was talking about the crowd and the attendance and fans showing up for the Rays game this weekend, and consequently, they had their largest showing on Saturday. Why? Bobblehead Day. Oh, wow. Whoa. Are you serious? You actually did something? You actually bent over backwards. You were doing a giveaway. Amazing. You don't do that stuff during the weekdays. You know why? Because you don't want to. So enough with the weekdays. We don't show up on Monday and Tuesdays. You're not going to show up for the Orioles. I get it. They're first place team. They're not going to. They're going to stay at home. Owners treated this fan base like crap. That's what you're getting. Enough. All right. Mahomes was running for life again the other night. I'm going to go back to Robert. Thoughts on someone saying Angels Ohtani is better than Babe Ruth because Babe was playing against farmers? It's ridiculous. You know, we live in this moment, right? I mean, this always goes back to what? It goes back to LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Who's the greatest of all time? Well, everybody would say it's Michael Jordan at the time. And now the generation wants their own greatest of all time. Happy birthday, by the way, to Kobe Bryant. I think you would consider him one of the greatest of all time over even of LeBron James. I love the whole moment. I'm in the moment at this point. What Ohtani has done for the Angels has been amazing. Pitching, 40 home runs this year? Amazing numbers. But come on. To compare it to Babe Ruth, it's a different era. It's difficult. It's tough. And to say it's farmers, I mean, how do you know? You weren't there. Babe Ruth is one of the greatest players of all time. Ohtani's only done this 1 year. It's been an amazing year. But come on, let's not lose our mind. Let's keep things in perspective. Shall we? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. He's great for baseball. And please, Major League Baseball, promote him as such. I mean, that's the problem with Major League Baseball. You've got to promote these guys. You've got to do more promotion. You've got to sell them, if you will. You've got to sell young fans on this game. That's the reason why you have all the rule changes. So yes, it's a great thing for baseball, but to say, he's as great as Babe Ruth, come on. Let's not go there. All right, Mahomes is running for his life again. Roger Shue says, farm team for Major League Baseball. SDS 4800, 'tis me, Gabe, whomever said that deserved to be slapped. I mean, I get it. You know, it's a media narrative. You want to push the buttons. And Joe Madden said you're watching Babe Ruth right this year. It's a great story, but come on. Let's not get lost in the moment here. Let's not lose our minds, which consequently, let's go back to these Madden predictions. They say who gets fired as a coach. Sean McVay has his job just 3 years after making the Super Bowl. They say he has a 7-9 record. Wow. The problem with that is that there are 17 games this year. So, Madden, you're kind of off on that. Ron Rivera, after 5-12, and the Bengals failed to take a leap, also going 5-12, and Joe Burrow's second year at quarterback. You could see that. By the way, Jamar Chase not looking too good, even though it's preseason, lots of drops. I don't know, maybe draft an offensive lineman over a wide receiver, but we'll see how that works out, huh? That'll be something we talk about during the season. Lots of storylines in the National Football League this year, not just the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but around the National Football League. It always starts with quarterbacks, right? Joe Burrow coming off an injury. Is he going to be able to ascend? Is he going to be able to make Cincinnati somewhat relevant? A playoff contender? Most likely not. Not in that division. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, good luck. But we'll see what his progression is. You know, young quarterbacks in the league, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, do they play this year? How much of an impact? New Orleans, life without Drew Brees. Carolina, Sam Darnold. Zach Wilson with the Jets. God, can the Jets get any worse than they were last year? I don't think so. Hopefully not. Although they've had their fair share of injuries already. New England facing Tampa Bay week 4. I went back to Tampa Bay, but that's a national storyline. That division as a whole. Is Buffalo the cream of the crop? You go to Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. All these expectations to return to the Super Bowl. You got a young quarterback and a Justin Herbert for the San Diego Chargers. The Raiders, can they do something with an improved defense? What about the Denver Broncos? It looks like Teddy Bridgewater is going to be their quarterback. Once again, another quarterback storyline. You got to love it. There are storylines everywhere. That's always usually quarterback related or coach related. Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott. We talked about it. What about the New York Giants? With Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, can he return? Washington football team, I think they're going to be better. With the Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback, with the defense. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, we don't know. Colin Kaepernick coming back and being a quarterback? Come on, Madden, do better than that. All right, let's go out to these comments, and then we'll read the rest of these simulation predictions, which are somewhat ridiculous. All right, let's see here. We can all agree that Madden is BS at the simulations. Richard Taroka. Jamar Chase playing like he's a Bucs backup wide receiver. Again, highly touted wide receiver. He's got everything. He's got speed. Had the chemistry with a Joe Burrow. I can understand it to a certain degree. But your quarterback got hurt last year. What are we doing? That's not how you help out your quarterback. You draft an offensive lineman. You draft a kid like a Slater out of Northwestern or Sewell out of Oregon. Say whatever you want to about the Lions, but they're trying to not get Jared Goff killed. It's an amazing concept. He's not a great quarterback, but let's not get him killed. Let's help our quarterback out. But we'll see. F LeBron, I'll give you that one. Woo! I like that. Okay, agreed. STS 4800, here is my question to you, Pete. Do you think Fitz will have revenge against us? I definitely think it's always on his mind, although he's played for 24,000 teams in the NFL? So I think he's always got revenge on his mind because of all the teams he's played for, but especially the Bucs. With Tom Brady, with them being the Super Bowl champions, they're going to get the best effort from the opposing team. It's just the way it is. You got the target on your back. You're no more an unknown. Not that the Bucs were unknown, but there were big-time questions coming into 2020 with the pandemic going on. There were analysts out there saying that Tom Brady was washed up. There were analysts out there saying this defense wasn't good enough. There were analysts out there saying that even though the Bucs had all these weapons, they didn't have the coaching. All those questions have been answered. Now they have to be re-answered in a different format, if you will. Can the defense sustain? Is it a good thing bringing back all your players? Can the Bucs continue that momentum from the second half of the year where they went 8-0 onto a Super Bowl championship at Raymond James Stadium? Are they going to get complacent? We've seen it with teams before. You're not hungry anymore. You accomplished everything. I mean, that's the reason why you have BA coming out almost every day talking about this team not being in sync. It's a motivational tactic. I don't necessarily think it's all doom and gloom for the Bucs over there, but they're trying to treat this season different from last season. Does that make sense? 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Saints fans, relax. It's the Jaguars. True. But it's encouraging to see Winston throw the ball deep with accuracy, make some plays. It's encouraging for the Saints organization and Sean Payton and also Saints fans. Listen to some of these Saints fans on the Facebook groups. I do. I kind of like it. It's kind of interesting. They always talk about the Saints dominating the Bucs the first two games of the year, or the two games in this year, last year. They don't ever talk about the playoff loss. So let them have it. STS 4800, the Lions won the Sewell sweepstakes by doing absolutely nothing. Right. Yeah, but they did. Cincinnati, to me, should have drafted him. That should have been your draft pick. If you got a quarterback that's hurt, that sustains a big-time injury, I'm not taking any chances. I get it. He has chemistry with the wide receiver. Hell, he may be the next Calvin Johnson. Matt Stafford for years had Calvin Johnson, no running game, no offensive line. What happened? Stafford is in LA now. He has all the numbers in the world, no playoff wins. Maybe one playoff appearance, no wins. Why? It wasn't built between the lines. You got to build it between the lines. You don't build a team outside, you build the team inside. It's football, man. You know, no matter what anybody says about the game changing with quarterbacks and this and that and the other thing, it's still football. You still got to protect your quarterback. So that will be one of the stories that I'll be watching this year. And you can better believe that I'll be circling back to it and saying, you know what? The Bengals messed up. Or you know what? I was wrong. Chase is a monster. Still got to draft an offensive lineman. All right, let's go out. Who do you predict will not make the Bucs roster? I think a guy that you know is Jaden Mickens. I think he's the guy. He's the odd man out. I think Ryan Griffin could be the odd man out. I think those type of guys that you would know. Maybe a Tanner Hudson, although, once again, going back to Leo Haggerty, the legend himself who covers this team on a daily basis, he believes that Tanner will keep his job and they'll keep 4 tight ends. So we'll see. All right, let's go out to the predictions. 49ers, Giants, Falcons, and the NFC champion Panthers led by Sam Darnold, 36 touchdown season. Yeah, you heard me right. They didn't even talk about the Bucs. Sam Darnold is going to have 36 touchdown passes. The Chiefs are going to be the champions of Super Bowl 56 by defeating the Carolina Panthers 38-26. Notable retirements. Get this. Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco. I thought he was retired, but he's still playing for the Eagles. Larry Fitzgerald, Adrian Peterson, LaShawn McCoy, Frank Gore, Steven Gostkowski, Malcolm Jenkins, Calais Campbell, Jason Peters, Emmanuel Sanders, Janoris Jenkins, and Golden Tate. No Tom Brady. So Carolina and Kansas City, book it. That's going to be your Super Bowl right there. All right, let's keep on reading these comments. I think we're pretty much done with the comments for the night. Well, we'll get to some other stuff here. We talked about CeeDee Lamb being on the COVID protocols. Of course, not the only player. In fact, the Cowboys lost 5 guys due to COVID-19 protocols, with CeeDee Lamb wide receiver, safety Malik Hooker, and defensive back Israel Mukamua. Hope I pronounce his name. Of course, this follows Dan Quinn and another player going into COVID protocols. Why does that matter? It may have some effect on the Bucs game and September 9th because all eyes will be on that Sunday night game. So we'll see. Let's go out to the Justin Fields situation. You watched that game with bated breath. I was watching it because I like to watch different teams other than Tampa. And everybody was saying, you know what? This guy in Justin Fields is going to be a guy that's going to be the starter. I think he still gives them the best chance to win. But he definitely had some type of reality check, did he not? 9 for 19, 80 yards, including a thrashing hit. Great job, Chicago Bears, in protecting your future quarterback. Somebody put a blocker in there to block the defensive end so the kid doesn't go down with a damn concussion. Let's see here. SDS 4800, Griffin, Mickens, Justin Watson. Hudson, my guess is to get the axe. Watson is out on the PUP list. And no, we don't. This is what Mr. Fields had to say, of course. Believes that fans are being disrespectful to veteran Andy Dalton. He says, I noticed it, of course. The fans are awesome, but they also have to realize Andy is a human being too. Andy is out there on the field right now, so I really think it's kind of disrespectful to Andy. Them cheering my name like that, they have to trust in the coach to make sure he's making the right decisions and cheer Andy on. That's not helping Andy play better. Them cheering my name, that's not doing that. So I would say my advice to them would just to be cheer for who's out there playing on the field. The problem with that, young man, is the fact that Dalton has played like absolute... Exactly. I keep on saying it over and over again. This guy is not a starting quarterback in the National Football League, and people say, well, they're going to start him. Well, this is what I think. Because he's shown nothing in the preseason to give you any idea or inclination, Leo word, that he's going to be the starting quarterback or do anything at all. He may be the starting quarterback. Doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be successful. And by the way, Justin Fields, fans can do whatever they want to, honestly. So you coming out, they're going to still cheer for your name because, as you know, guys, backup quarterbacks are the most popular players on the team. That's just how it goes. All right, redheads suck. I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to give you this.
Shut up!
Well, I mean, I know what you're talking about, Andy Dalton, but not all redheads. Let's not put them there. I just wouldn't say that. So with that, let's go ahead and wrap it up here on the Sports Web. Thanks to all our guests, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scott and now media member of Night Sports Productions, It Sports Mag, and of course the great Kasey Hudson, Rolling Stone, and of course the Sports Case on all the major platforms, Kase. Thanks to her. We'll be back on Friday night or sooner. Just keep it tuned in here to the evolution of sports talk television and of course NSPN, because if sports media is going to evolve, it needs an evolution, and that's what you got here on the Sports Web. Of course, we'll be live on NSPN. I love St. Pete. Do 3 things for me early on this Tuesday morning. It's almost Tuesday morning. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Have a great night.